5:03 and you're ready to go.
Okay, super. Well, welcome to all to this meeting. And let's start with the calling of the roll. I could do that, I guess. I'm here. Luke Murphy?
I'm here. Here.
Okay. David Risberger
I'm here.
and Katie Lapari-Shu.
I'm here.
Okay, we're all set to start. We have everybody here, and also I think Gary is here, and I saw some other folks. Oh yeah, Doug Brenner. So we have the agenda in front of me anyway, and the first thing is the approval of minutes. Everybody have a copy? They seem okay, or any concerns?
No concerns.
Nor I or me. So I think unless somebody protests, we can accept the minutes as written and begin with the agenda. Public comment is still in here, but I don't think there's a way we can easily handle that at the moment. But on the topics for discussion, the first is the mask ordinance is in line. Would you prefer to do the mask ordinance or the flag policy first?
Doesn't matter to me.
Okay, let's start with the mask ordinance. What's up?
Did she freeze again?
I guess. Katie, I think this is your
She's
your
frozen.
thing.
To say she's not blinking.
No, but she has that staring contest look.
I
I'm
think
just
she's
watching
good.
her eyes. You're right. She's not moving. I think she's going to win. Katie?
This has got to be unbelievably frustrating to her.
Yeah. Oh, there she is. Katie, the mask ordinance, I think is what you wanted to talk about.
Hey, I did.
Hey.
Sorry, you guys weren't frozen and I could hear you saying that I was frozen and I was like, are you there? Hello? Okay. So John and Luke, did you guys get the email that I sent this afternoon?
Mm-hmm.
I did,
Okay, great.
yes.
Okay, great. So that was just kind of the materials that I'm going to be referencing. This isn't a big presentation. I don't know why I said it like that. But basically, when I think about the ordinance as we voted on it, the MU1 district, if anybody in this meeting can tell me exactly where the boundaries of that are, I'll be very impressed. Maybe Chief Brenner can do it. No, I'm just joking. Can you? I don't know.
Anytime I see a third floor, I'm in the business district.
Gotcha. So I think you might be one in the entire population of the city minus Stephen Yearly. So what I wanted to do was just suggest that even if we don't have the discussion around expanding it, which I think we should, that we take a look at the surrounding area to expand it out into just streets and intersections so that it's very easy for the common citizen to be able to follow that without any question. So if you look at the MU1 district map, which I had sent to everyone, it actually ends in the middle of the block on Dietz Street. It doesn't go all the way up to Walnut. And so what's tricky about that is, you know, if I'm a belligerent anti-masker, you know, I could very well get in an argument with someone about where the delineation is. And so I think it would just behoove us to blow it out to very easily defined boundaries. And with that being said, you know, I also forwarded you the section of our code that
I don't know if you can hear it, but you froze.
Katie, if you can hear us, maybe you want to call in over the phone.
Oh, there you are again.
Hey, I'm sorry. So where did I leave off there?
Hey, Katie, I
Yeah.
have a suggestion?
Yeah.
Do you want to stay on video, call in with your phone,
Okay.
and just mute it? And that way, if your video goes, you still have us and you can keep talking.
Gotcha. Maybe I'll just mute myself anyway. Hang on. I can do that. Call details. Um,
I think she's calling in, right? I hope.
Yeah, she was looking to
Frozen
do that.
again.
I don't know what the issue is at her house. One thing I'm finding with ours is we have so many things that are online. It's overworking the modem. Or the
No, I
router,
had this-
not the modem.
You know, I had this problem twice. And one time Spectrum came out and they found that there was one fitting on the pole that was rusty. They replaced that and fixed it. The next time I had a cable in the house that needed replacing. So a lot of times it's just a bad fitting or cable.
That's the cheap way of checking it out. Definitely. Calling them first.
There are 9 participants in the meeting. You are muted. You can mute or unmute yourself by pressing *6. This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, can you guys hear me? Well, this is weird. I'm in an infinite loop.
Mute yourself on Zoom so you don't have an echo.
It might take more than that. If that doesn't work, you might have to, there's a way to remove your video or your audio completely. Leave computer audio. Oh, no.
Got it. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely. Okay, so can you tell me where I left off? Because I kept talking because I thought everything was fine.
Take it back to Maple Street. I think
Maple Street.
the last thing I heard you say was Maple Street.
Probably was Walnut Street.
Okay.
Yeah. So the MU1 district, it's based on building use. And so it actually ends in the middle of Deep Street block. It doesn't even go all the way up to Walnut Street. So I can see an adamant anti-masker getting in an argument with someone over, have I crossed the boundary yet or not? And I think it would just behoove us to settle on some clear boundaries that people can understand. And I think that streets and intersections are probably the way to go. So with that being said, I also included with you guys the section of our code on that restricts bicycle riding in a pretty broad swath of the city, and that is also based on traffic, sidewalk traffic. And you'll see if you put that kind of overlay that into a map, that's actually a little bit bigger of a section than we're proposing with the mask ordinance. So that does go all the way up to Walnut Street. So I think at the bare minimum, we should do that. And then, maybe we can talk about ways to I think we need to, rather than saying like, this is a very easy thing and we're going to plonk a zoning district on it that people may or may not understand, but that's kind of the quick fix. I think it would really behoove us, if we're trying to keep our community safe, to think about where foot traffic is and restrict it in those areas. So that's what I'm asking this committee to do. And as you can see, I've already done, some of it. I made a pretty straightforward suggestion and we can kind of go from there, what you guys think. But that's kind of my whole spiel.
Okay. Thoughts? Luke, Luke, Dave, me, Gary?
So yeah, I'm so sorry. I was trying to get my screen up and it was just kind of bouncing all over the place. I don't have a problem with expanding the ordinance. One thing though, I'd like to clarify is what is your definition of always on? Like, what if, for example, I'm so sorry.
I forgot I'm talking on my phone. I totally am chewing, so I'm so sorry. I just had a little snack, but
That's
I'm chewing
okay.
like in the Zoom. Okay.
So I guess what's your definition of always on? Like even if folks are able to maintain social distance, or?
Right. So what I don't want to change the wording of the ordinance that we just voted on at all. So basically, right now, what the mayor is having a hearing on is proposed to be signed into city law is that you have to have a mask on at all times within a proposed district, whether you are near people or not. And that's just because you are highly likely to run into people in that district. And what I'm saying is that district could also include some neighborhood streets where it's also very likely that you will run into people.
Okay.
Did that answer your question, Luke?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
I have a
David?
question for the chief. Chief, let's say Gary signs the ordinance at our next meeting, and so the mask ordinance goes into place, and you are walking down Dietz Street. Let's say you park your car on Dietz Street and you start walking, and Dietz Street is sort of a gray area here where that demarcation is between zones. What if you see somebody walking there without a mask on? What would you do as a police chief, or what would one of your officers do?
Well, what I would do, or what I would instruct my officers do, is to inform the person about the mask ordinance and that they're close enough to the area, they really should just put it on. It's the right thing to do. And since really for a while, I've had the officers carry masks with them in the little bags, so they're new and fresh, and be able to hand out in case anyone needs them. I would ask the officers, or myself even, we can ask them to do them. We can tell them to do it, that they're close enough to do the right thing. And here's the ability to put the mask on if they don't have one themselves. I really think most people are gonna comply because they want to do the right thing. A little gentle reminder once in a while is okay.
Thanks, Chief.
Hmm.
My thoughts about this, since we're basically, by the time we get this current ordinance signed, we're going to have an exodus of the remaining students from SUNY and Hartwick pretty soon. I think they're leaving by Thanksgiving or before Thanksgiving. And then we've got, a 2 months, a little more than 2 months really, of fewer people in town. And then we still don't know. We can assume that the students are coming back in February, which will then double the population. This is just my opinion. I'm looking at this as we're not going to know how well this works until February with how the current ordinance is written. I would lean toward waiting until they come back. At that point, we may, for all we know, there could be something else put into place. There could be The COVID numbers unfortunately could potentially go way up, which puts a little bit more healthy fear in some people that wouldn't have it otherwise. I mean, it could also be that nobody wants to follow the ordinance that we have written, but I would hope that they would. But my thought is that we wait until February, reevaluate, and then look to potentially expand the mask ordinance if we feel that it's needed. I just don't want to jump to. I mean, it's nice to talk about it. It's nice to put things in place. I'm okay with that, and get
Okay.
things ready. I hesitate to make a change when we don't know that we absolutely need it yet. But that's
I
just
think that's fair,
my
Dave. I agree with that. I mean, I think this is really, I think even at this point, even with the remaining students here, it's not as urgent, to be able to, have the expansion. I think it is really looking ahead into February and making sure, because things do take so long to get rolling. I think it's important that we have this conversation now and get all on the same page and have a plan B in our pocket so that we're not seeing in February a spike and then being reactive to it. I think just being able to anticipate what's coming and, we don't have to, move it up to council and decide on it at the next meeting. But I think that, knowing which way we want to go with it so that when the time comes, we can just go, seems like a good way to, just be prepared for what might come in the spring. So that's sort of what I think too.
I have a question, Kate.
Sure.
This in your map, the red line, is that something you've put in?
Yes. Yep. So I did the big,
Yeah.
it's like a thick red line, and then I kind of colored in the areas where I thought I'm always on mask ordinance on public property would be helpful.
Okay. Luke, did you have a thought on it? So far it's delay and wait till we see what the conditions are like. That's an option.
Yeah, no, I think that's very wise. And I thank you for your work on this, Katie. I think it's very smart. It's obviously we can't predict the future. Things could get better with COVID. Things could get a lot worse. I think it's a really good idea to have a plan in our back pocket, and I think this is a great start.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Katie, I only have one concern, and as the only person who represents the entire city, if there is an effort to expand the current area that's covered by the mask ordinance, it should be looked at in a careful way. And that is, there are many streets in the city that have higher pedestrian traffic than the streets that you've mapped out. And assuming that this is a needed thing and a good thing, how do we explain to people who are in other parts of the city that have streets of higher pedestrian traffic than some of the streets that you've mapped out as to why they are not included? Now,
yeah, so I think that's a really good point, Mayor, and I would love to get more input from everyone. I think it's important to have representation. That's what we're here to do. So for my part and the things that I've presented here, I'm going to sort of gloss over the fact that it sounds like you think I didn't do that carefully. It's based on, my experience in the areas that I have highlighted. But I think that I'm not one person and I don't have all the answers. And I would be more than willing to have input from the rest of the council. what I'm proposing, the reason why there's sort of a broad swath in Center City is that because there is a lot of through traffic, I think that if we were to say just on Center, people would move to Spruce. If we were to say, just on Ford, people would walk down Myrtle. I think that it's important that we say, in this area, because of the type of foot traffic that there is, just to keep the community safe, that folks should have a mask on. But, to your point, if there are other places in the city where, my fellow council members feel that their constituents need representation in this, then we can absolutely work together on that. Again, this is just a start, and that's why I brought it to legislative committee, because I wanted the opinions of my peers. Did that answer your question, Mayor?
Yes, I think you did.
Okay, thank you.
So I think that whether we have a backup plan that's solidified, or we want to look later at the conditions in February or so when people are coming back, we can look at the conditions that are in fact affecting or defining the COVID problem, and talk about it then.
Okay, so I think just per the mayor's suggestion, what I'll do is reach out to the remaining council members and ask them if there are any areas of concern in their neighborhoods, and just come back with that to maybe next month's legislative committee meeting or January's. And that way we have a better idea of the area that's being proposed.
May I ask a quick question, John?
Yeah.
Would you has code been involved in this at all, Katie? Just because of the knowledge of the densities versus what kind of densities there are, if it's pedestrian traffic or people living there. Have you been in touch with Steve Yearley?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And actually, I can provide you guys with a map. I knew there was one other thing I wanted to email to you, but Steve actually sent me a GIS map that was really helpful, that showed the density of rental properties in the city, and it's pretty much mine. It's pretty much my ward. So I'll forward that on to you guys too, so that you can see that, and sort of where some of my concern is coming from.
All right. So Katie,
let's not forget to get input from the police department.
Okay.
For two reasons. They are out on the streets every day and night. 7 days a week. They know best where the greatest amount of foot traffic is. And also they're the ones who are going to have to enforce it. So I do think their input, is important as well.
I agree.
Okay. Yeah, I think that in the last vote, we were focused on the idea of the downtown area, multiple use, and we've passed that, and to try to change it quickly is not a good idea. I don't think.
Oh, I'm sorry, John. That's not what I'm proposing.
Then
this
let
is
me
about
finish.
an addition.
Will you let me finish? Okay. So my opinion was to let this go and look at it when we're closer to having a population of students here. I think that's a good idea, Dave.
Okay, just for clarity, I wasn't looking to change before the mayor signed. That's actually not possible as far as I know. It would have to be relayed on our desks and we would have to vote on it. So
Yeah.
it would just be in addition to the ordinance that we have already passed as a council. So
Okay,
yeah, I'm not trying to rush anything.
okay, good.
Well, John, what I would offer is this also. I mean, in the next 2 to 3 months, we have, again, a redoubling of our population, as long as the
Yeah.
students come back. We'll well be into the flu season. Potential beginning of a vaccine, maybe. And potential of different federal rules, I guess. I'm guessing all 4 of these. So I think when we look at the impact of those come very beginning of February, I think we'll have a clearer picture of a direction we may or may not want to take. So
Sure. Now, if we're, should we move to the next issue?
Yeah, thanks for considering that, everyone.
The issue, I think, my phone went blank on me. Or is that the flag? Or the flagpole?
yeah, that's the
Okay.
next item.
All right. Let's hear a bit about that. I know I've seen language that Dave Merzig had put together. And I think that you had worked, Dave, with Mr. Merzig.
It was actually all Dave Merzig.
Okay.
He just, since it's just a policy, he sent me an email. The motion, I can read the motion that he wrote. It says, motion that the Common Council establishes a policy that only the flag of the United States, the flag of the state of New York, or of the city of Oneonta shall be flown on any flagpole owned by the city of Oneonta and which is located in front of or adjacent to any public building in the city. In addition to those flags, the flags of the various branches, and this is something I'm glad he added because I hadn't thought of this. The flags of the various branches of the United States military services may be flown at the Veterans Memorial flagpoles located in Neowell Park. We wouldn't want to do anything that would damage that. So what he stated to me was, and that I guess I should read also, is he thought that if we add that the council can approve other flags on the motion, that we will once again be opening up the floodgates to approving one flag, but not approving another solely because of the content. That creates both a First Amendment and an equal protection under the law problem. Let me know if you want changes or to discuss it any further. And that was it.
Gary, I'll have a question to you. If this is a policy, what does this mean in terms of, in contrast to an ordinance?
Well, it's an internal policy that just
Yeah.
Directs what staff do. As an ordinance is a law which subjects all the people of the city to.
So is this essentially something we as a council say is a policy that we all agree to? That's all there is to it? Do we vote on anything?
We're in a gray area here. I mean, policies are set by various, there's practices and there's policies and there's an overlap between, public safety policies are set by the public safety chiefs. They're not approved by council because obviously, those of us who don't have any background in public safety are not in a position to be making public safety policies. Personnel policies are typically approved by the council. This is sort of we have a lot of policies about how we do things, maintain our buildings, which are not approved by policy. it's a gray area, but because it's one which I think would have input, public impact, it's probably appropriate to be established by the council by vote.
Mhm.
But if anybody wants to argue that position, that's certainly arguable.
Dave, do you?
No, I thought Luke was trying to say something.
Oh,
I lost my screen again. I was just trying to find my button.
okay. I have, if we wish to recommend this to just an agreement with the council and a vote, we can do that and bring it up at the next council meeting. I don't have any argument or anything really to add to make an improvement or betterment of this.
I don't think I do either, John.
I think I just want to mention the fact that it says or, because that makes it sound like only one of those flags can be flown at a time. So that just may be something to look at before we vote on it. But
Yeah, Katie, you had mentioned that to me in an email, and I know that using and or can change the meaning of legislation. I would suggest if we want to move this to council, we could bring it up at council, and that way Dave Merzig will be there and he'll be able to give us an answer of if it makes a difference or not and how it makes a difference. And I'm assuming that if we need to change it, we can just change it on the spot. At
okay.
council. Gary, does that sound right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I think that's the second thing. We'll move that up for discussion and affirmation by the council. Not that it's legislation, but just an agreed on intention for moving forward. So what's the third thing? I've lost it on my phone.
That was
Agenda,
Ginny
you have
and sewer and water rates, I think.
Okay, please. Virginia?
Hello, thank you so much. You'll see a local law that Dave Merzig has written. And what this local law is requesting is to modify the language. Right now, the current code says that the sewer bills need to be out and payable for April 1st. And my goal is to get the water bills out sooner. I mentioned it at Council and Finance in a couple of meetings. And what this does is it just modifies the language saying that each year and shall be billed no later than March 31st in the following year. And I would like to modify that so we have a earlier billing period and a longer collection period without penalty.
That sounds great to me, Jenny.
Mm-hmm.
Me too. I think the flexibility is going to help a lot more people in the city.
Yeah, the due date will still be April 30th as it is now. It just allows me to be able to get the bills out sooner if they're ready to go out.
Right.
Good idea.
I think so too.
It also helps me with that accounting adjustment that I would like to do to increase the water and sewer fund balances. Just has to, I'll get into the weeds just very quickly. It has to do, I have to be able to measure it. It has to be available, and so much of it has to be collected within a certain time period. So I have to meet those three criteria so I can record it as revenue. And that is what I would like to do for 2020. And then with that, if you modify the language of the code, then we also are considering increasing the sewer rates by the 5% that was discussed at the budget meeting, and the rate table has been distributed to you for consideration.
So, Ginny, do you have clear what the change in the code would be?
Yes, it's the local law that Dave,
Okay,
and what it basically is doing, it's under section B of the law where it's saying that it shall be billed no later than March 31st.
hmm
That's the main change of it.
So if you could have that clear for us, that would be helpful to know what we're talking about, and then we could, I think, vote on it, correct?
Yes, do you have the attachment that Dave Merzick sent? It was sent with your email, John.
I don't quite have it, but I'm thinking of what will be presented to the council.
What's going to be presented to the council is local law. And then
Okay.
I'll fill in the number of 2020. It's the local law that Dave Merzick. Do you want me to forward it to you so you could open it?
That'll be fine. The council needs to see it to vote on it.
Yes. What has to happen is that if the legislative committee, and Mayor, please correct me if I've got the procedure incorrect, but what I was informed on is if the legislation committee approves this change tonight, Carrie will be able to lay the local law for the council members to review and then be able to vote on it and have the public hearing in time before the end of the year.
John, it should be in your email with the legislative committee materials.
I understand. Okay, I see it now. So this could be presented.
Thanks,
It
Carrie.
could be voted on, correct? Unless someone objects.
No, John, it's a law, so it has to be first laid on the desks
Okay,
and then a
I
week
see.
later put on the
Mhm.
agenda.
that's fine. Then I'd be okay with laying it. I'd wonder if others are in agreement.
Yeah,
I agree.
likewise.
I'm happy to move.
Okay, that will be done and laid on the desk.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Okay, that was the third thing.
Thanks for your
On
work
the
on this,
agenda. We have a
Jenny.
little more time. Do you want anything else? None? I think Dave's shaking no. I see a little,
I don't have anything to add.
I'm okay with that too. Are we in agreement that we're done with this meeting? Can we close, or is there something else that people want to discuss that's not on the agenda?
I'm good to go.
I think I'm all out of things to say,
Okay,
sadly.
would that were true. Okay, let's adjourn. If you all agree,
Sounds good
nods,
to me.
waves, whatever
you.
Zoom
Goodbye.
communication.